Hey everyone, we're here outside the Farmers Museum in Cooperstown, New York. Now, every year, these guys team up with the next brewery that we're going to visit using hops grown right here on site.
That beer is called the Farmer's Harvest, and you can find that at Rock Brewery. And we are going to go check out what's on tap there.
Across the nation, people have turned the hobby of crafting beer into a lifestyle. Amazing breweries are only a few minutes away from your own home.
From nano to regional, or micro to macro, the question you won't need to ask is what's on tap. Council Rock opened up in 2012, but it was only a few years before that he started brewing.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Roger's son, he might not have ever opened up Council Rock.
Let's go inside.
We opened in 2012. If we go backwards from there, it took me 3 years. Once I lost my mind and said, I want to brew beer, I want to open up a brew pub. So it took me 3 years to get the door open. In that time, I searched for equipment. I put financing together. I found a place. This was a sort of like an adult rehab center, and the floors were all carpeted, so I had to peel up carpet and paint and get everything. So that took me 3 years. And then prior to that, as we go backwards 3 more years, that's probably when I started home brewing.
Roger Davidson might not have even started home brewing if it wasn't for his son Will. What was intended to be a fun father-son project turned into a full-fledged business that's been open now for 8 years.
In a summer, when my son was home from college, he was around and he goes, Dad, he goes, we got to make some beer. And I said, his name was Will. I said, Will, I don't even like beer, because I really hadn't discovered craft beer. He goes, but Dad, it'd be a good father-son project. And so we got a kit and we tried it, and fortunately that first kit was delicious. And that was it. I mean, it was like I was bitten, or whatever. It was just kit after kit after kit.
Council Rock started off as a small place, but since then, they've expanded a few times to make it into the great brewery they have today.
When we first opened, it was just the front room, basically. We had the pub area. And we had a couple of rooms. We had a kitchen, which was really, we barely had any kitchen equipment, and we had a dishwasher. So we were brewing and washing dishes and cooking all in one room. And then we had a separate room that we had all of our tanks, and we had a keg washer and all of that kind of stuff. But that was basically it. And so we started out really small. That was our beginning. And in the beginning, basically I was cook, brewer, dishwasher. I had some help. My wife helped me in the front of the house. Eventually I did get a cook, and we just gradually grew and added folks and expanded. And then the next expansion was this room was a chocolate shop in the middle of the building, and they moved out, so landlord allowed me to take that space over, and we added the dining room. We added a real kitchen with hoods and a proper kitchen. So that was expansion number 2. And then a couple years ago we built a brew house, and we pulled all of the brewing equipment and functions out into its own brew house space. So that's where we are now.
Council Rock Brewery wasn't the first name of this place. Roger made sure he not only did the right thing to have a name that would not conflict with others, but also be something the people of Cooperstown can remember.
Originally I thought that my last name is Davidson, that I would do Davidson's Brewery, the family name. I incorporated as Davidson's Brewery Corp. And I looked on the internet, like the first year that I was setting things up. I didn't see anybody that I thought would object to that. Just before I was about to paint my signs, and we were just about ready to get the door open, I said, I wonder, there is Davidson's Brothers Brewery in Glens Falls. I wondered if they'd have any objection. So I reached out with an email. So they said we'd have an issue with that. And I said, okay, I'll. And so I'm like, crap. And then for a couple of days, I'm thinking, okay, what am I going to name this thing? And then I thought I wanted something that expressed my Cooperstown roots. And it was kind of like I had a headache. I was thinking so hard. But after a couple of days, all of a sudden it popped into my head, Council Rock. And Council Rock is a is a rock. It's at the mouth of the Susquehanna and Lake Otsego, and it's a place that in the 1700s was a meeting place for the tribes. There's a council rock in Pennsylvania. There are actually about 8 of them through the country, and they were all Native people meeting places. So I said, "What is that meeting place? You know, it'll everybody in Cooperstown. I mean, we always used to swim around that when we were kids, and everybody will know it. And maybe so, we became Council Rock Brewery."
Davidson Brothers Brewing had a lot of respect for Roger changing the name. The owner even invited him up for a beer.
Rick Davidson, he invited me to come up and visit him, so we did. And he was very gracious. He treated us to a meal and beer, and he talked to me it was like a mini seminar. He talked to me for, I think it was a couple of hours, about all the things he'd learned the hard way in the brewing beer and the Brewpub business. That was because I reached out, and then I told him, okay, we changed our name to this, because the last thing I wanted was to offend anybody or get into a court battle over something really. And he did me a huge favor because he forced me to really get a headache, think hard, and come up with actually what's a much better name for the brewery than just my name tacked onto it. So, it started a friendship, so that was kind of cool.
Roger took us into the brew house to see what he has going on in there. This included a system that was the first of its kind from the company he bought from. So here's the brew house.
Yep, here we are. This is a psychobrew system, and it's a 3-barrel system, but we brew 100-gallon batches, which is slightly over 3 barrels. What we do, it's basically kind of a twin. We brew 50 gallons on each side. We've got 53-gallon mash tuns, and it's a rim system. The wort recirculates through the grain. Then we switch the plumbing around, and we put them into 75-gallon boil kettles. This system actually has a little story too, because when I was first looking, you could spend anywhere between $13,000, $15,000 on brewing equipment, or you could spend $250,000 on equipment that would still brew basically 3 barrels of beer. And at the same time, there was a Brewpub in Singapore that bought the $250,000 thing that I was aware of. So I had to find equipment that I could afford. The psychobrew equipment was it. And when I was talking to them, they hadn't built a 3-barrel size yet. They were still doing like a half size. And he goes, "I've been thinking about brewing a 3-barrel one." So I says, "Great, order one." So this was the first 3-barrel one that they built, and we named it the Beast. But they also brought it to me in like March, and I didn't even have a location yet. So we actually took it over to Ommegang Brewery, and the brewer there was interested in a system for pilot and experimental batches. So we actually demoed it inside the Ommegang Brewery, which was kind of cool. And then they loaded it on their trailer and took it over icy roads and slid it across the ice into my garage until we got further along with things. But that was kind of neat.
We got a lot of beer, I think, being made right now over here. I'm hearing some noises, so what do you currently got on?
Well, let's see. There's a Ruby Saison in this one. What have we got? This is our red ale. A California lagers here. We've got a wheat beer that will become our mango wheat, and a Farmer's Harvest beer that's it's a pale ale that we make with hops that the Farmers Museum in Cooperstown grows every year. So we get they're basically fuggles, and so we brew a beer with their hops and call it Farmer's Harvest.
While we talked about the beer being brewed, Roger and his kitchen staff prepared something completely unexpected for us. Council Rock isn't just a brewery. If you want an incredible meal in Cooperstown, look no further. All right, Roger, well, it looks like you're going to have no issue with Governor Cuomo's new order. What do we have in front of us here? It looks like the entire menu.
Yeah, so the pesto fries, that's one of our, we offer it as a side, but it's one of our most popular appetizers. And so the garlic pesto fries, that's kind of one of our signature dishes, and we generally serve it with the chipotle aioli, and that's what that's paired with at the moment. So the next thing is, that's our bratwurst that we make in-house with a very special kraut. Of course, there's some kettle chips with it.
bratwurst is so good. Like everywhere you go, I feel like I'm always looking for something different. And I honestly, I never do the sauerkraut on top. This is great.
Next is the Brie burger, and that is our special Angus chopped meat burger with Brie cheese melted on it, bacon, and apple butter. And of course our house-made coleslaw as well.
Now, you think of beer, one of the best compliments I usually think of is burger. And this looks like it has, like you said, the Brie cheese, bacon, barbecue sauce?
No, that's apple butter.
Apple butter.
This is delicious. And I love pretzel buns too. I'm a sucker for pretzel buns. This is so good. It's got to be that apple butter, because I'm getting that sweetness there. And
the quality of the meat.
Of course, putting
like
sweet and salty together with the bacon and the meat too.
Yep.
This is a real quality burger with the meat you're talking about. I mean, this is. I'm coming back here for this too.
That coleslaw too is incredible.
Good.
And I've found that I either love a place's coleslaw or hate it. Depends on the recipe. This is delicious.
The next one is our fish taco, which has pieces of cod, greens, avocado, and I think that's the chipotle aioli that is on it.
The fish is cooked perfectly.
Just a little kick.
I'm getting some sweetness.
Yep.
I'm getting some sweetness of it.
It all balances out perfectly. Especially to where you think about where we're located, not exactly right by the ocean. So to have lobster roll, fish tacos, and it all tastes so fresh. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it.
Sweet potato tots, another appetizer side that's very popular. Lobster roll. And we, during the worst part of the COVID crisis, specials weren't going too well. We were just doing takeout. People were just basically ordering our most, they were sticking to the burgers, the tacos, and some of the other items. So we weren't running specials. And then there's things, we got some indoor dining, things started to pick up a little bit. We decided to, we put it out on Facebook, 4 different specials. Which one would you like to see come back first? And the lobster roll got the most votes.
That is good. How have I never had lobster roll?
You're missing out.
I like lobster. Like that's something I go to a restaurant. I'm like, oh, lobster. I'll get that. I never have it. This is awesome.
You should have a slice of this too. This is a special that we were kind of working on and demoing. And basically a special usually happens, one of us gets an idea, and so we put it together and we taste it and say, that's amazing, run with it. But lots of times we're like, you know what, maybe it needs more mozz, or maybe it needs this. There's some chorizo in there, there's fresh mozz, there's roasted red peppers, there's basil, and balsamic glaze.
That's so good.
Isn't it?
I don't know if I've ever had chorizo.
That balsamic glaze. It was incredible. This is a great summer food. Nice and light, but a lot of flavor. It wasn't a bad thing.
Everything. This is incredible.
Yep.
Breweries aren't just beer. And I think a lot of people think that a lot of these places are just, which there are. There are plenty of breweries who just do beer, but I mean, this is food. You're getting
actual
great
meals.
Beer. You're getting a real great meal here. This is awesome. Cam, I'm stuffed right now. The food here is incredible. We've seen a lot today.
Yeah, Rogers took us on a tour around the place. We got to try the food. Got our to-go bag here, but before we take off, it's time for us
to pour 4.
So we start, the first one, this is our Goldenrod Ale. It's one of our oldest beers. It's essentially a cream ale. The name Goldenrod, people say, is there goldenrod in it? No, there isn't. But I first made the recipe in like late August, and the goldenrod was blooming. That's where I just came up with the name. But it's one of our most populars, and it's kind of like a starter beer too. If somebody comes in and said, do you have any Bud Light? And I say, no, I'm sorry, we don't, but here, try this. Oh, that's good, I'll drink that.
It's got a nice golden color to it for goldenrod. Yep. Super smooth drinking, really
crisp.
Light. Yeah. And it's what it comes with the cream ale. I mean, the cream ale is supposed to be that smoothness that you get with cream.
Absolutely. I could see this going really well with those fish tacos we just
Oh,
had.
yeah.
This would be delicious with that.
The next one is our mango wheat beer. And the inspiration for this beer was actually a Belgian beer. My daughter was an exchange student in Belgium. I was lucky enough to visit her for a few days. And there was this beer that she liked there called, I think, Mongozo. And it's a Belgian mango beer. I tasted that and I said, gee, mango and beer, that sounds like a good
Figure.
Totally, very mango-y. I mean, it's right off the bat, but it's not even like a, you're getting that overpowering sweetness. You're getting just that mango flavor to it.
It just holds right on your tongue for several seconds afterwards. It's delicious.
So the next one is our All-American IPA. The name All-American because at the time we used all the hop varieties were American hops. And this one is finished with Citra, and it's kind of a retro IPA. Yeah. We went for balance, we went for a little more complexity. It wasn't just a hop bomb.
It's got that bitterness, but it's not even crazy bad. It's like, not that bitterness is bad, I mean, bitterness is beer. With this IPA, I mean, in general, I mean, great, all-American. I mean, you're getting an all-American hops, all-American ingredients. Now we got a real dark one.
This is the Scotch Ale. Some people think that Scotch Ale is like the whiskey Scotch, or that it's made with smoked or peat smoked malt or something. You can get peat smoked malt, but Scotch ales that are consumed in Scotland, they're of this style basically. So that's where the name Scotch Ale comes from. It's not from the Scotch whiskey, it's from the style of ales that are consumed there.
Wow. Right off the bat, I mean, I'm feeling like it's got a smoothness to it, like a real, and I keep saying smooth over every beer, but it's you look at it as dark, but it's kind of got a light feel to it.
Yeah, it's definitely not as heavy as you think it would be when you just take a look at it. A little burn as it goes down, but it's it's a really cool feeling.
Anyone looking to get a keg of Council Rock's beer? Here's how.
Call here, and somebody will give me a message or whatever, or they can email at the Council Rock email, and then I'll get the message, I'll get back in touch with them.
Well, that wraps it up for us here at Council Rock Brewery. Today has been incredible.
Yeah, we had some really tasty food, delicious beer. So be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, all that fun stuff, so you can see where our journey takes us next on What's on Tap.
Cheers.